Hi, I'm Madeleine. I live in Toowoomba in Queensland with my husband and my kids and my horse and my dog and my many pot plants because I'm an aspiring pot plant owner. It's a new thing for me, and I am aspiring to lots of new things this year. And one of those is I want to do better at talking about the things that I really care about, that are really important to me. And one of those things is Emily's voice. And I love what Emily's voice is doing with reframing the issue of life in terms of crisis and coercion and self-preservation. And as I looked into those issues when Emily's voice started talking about those and about how they impact and how they inform the abortion issue, I really started to reflect on my own story and reflect on how those things really were present. I guess crisis for me brings up the idea of a time in my life when, as an 18-year-old, I found out that I was pregnant. That was not the plan at the time. And um, I don't think I even thought of it as a crisis exactly, but when I see how I responded to the situation, how I went into sort of some kind of emotional overdrive, the way I rejected support networks around me, cut myself off from them, I really was in some ways out of control. I wasn't able to make decisions clearly. And what really scares me about the system that we have in place in Australia is that we don't protect women in that situation. We don't provide a context where they can talk out what's going on for them. So I was sort of in this streamlined system that didn't stop me and encouraged me to observe what was going on in my heart or slow down my emotional processing so I could really think through the issue. In fact, they kind of were just like, okay, crisis, let's solve it. And when I think about my inability, the hormonal things that were going on in me and even the developmental place that I was in as a young adult, I just, yeah, I'm full of regret, I guess, that I wasn't better able to see that it really was a situation of crisis. And in terms of coercion, yeah, it's funny. I probably always hear that word and think, oh, I wasn't really coerced because, I had people who said that they'd support me no matter what. But for me, I think there was such a subliminal coercion going on because of um, the lack of presence in the media of positive encouragement around pregnancy, around choosing life, around supporting women. I didn't even know there was such thing as a pregnancy support network or center. I didn't know there were any options. I didn't really think there was any options around adoption or anything like that. I just was so ill-informed. And the crazy part of that in terms of coercion is that silence became coercion for me because so many people around me had positive experiences. The boyfriend of the baby that I would have had, he was a product of an abusive relationship, and she kept him. But I didn't know that story, and my own half sister was adopted out, and with tears together. Years later, we both reflected how different the story might have ended if we had been able to talk about it. So coercion's this funny thing because for me, I experienced coercion in terms of the coercion of people's inability to speak or unwillingness to speak about the issue in a loving, encouraging, vulnerable, transparent way. And so, yeah, just feeling really alone in my decision-making process, I suppose. But I see more and more how many women and men experience coercion around this issue, are pressured to make decisions, are given very biased advice that sort of channels them, puts them in a blinkered um, blinkered sort of tunnel vision, where they feel like they only have one choice, and that's what I seem to hear over and over as I discuss this with people, is that feeling like I didn't have any other choice. And I think that flows into the third issue of self-preservation, because I think that many women want to preserve a life that they have, or preserve their plans. I know for me, I hate changing plans. I like when I know what I'm going for and I know how to get there. Um, but our world, especially at the moment with jolly coronavirus, but so much of our world now is disrupted, is knocked off course, and in those moments we need to be encouraged to be altruistic, to be others focused, and I wasn't at that time. In fact, I feel like if anything, I was encouraged to be selfish. And so I think of women in really dangerous situations, women who are experiencing domestic violence, or women who are experiencing poverty, and trying to make a decision to care for a baby when they're facing those kind of crises. And you start to see that this tangled web emerges of these issues. So you know, you're talking about crisis and coercion and self-preservation, and I'm probably talking about them as if they're separate, and yet the more I think about it, the more integrated I start to realize that they are. And what I love about Emily's voice is that a growing awareness that this issue requires addressing on multiple levels, that it's not something we can just solve with one campaign or one story. It's layered just like we are as people, and that's exciting to me, because stories and advocacy and encouraging people to speak to one another, and connecting people with the kinds of resources and support networks that are out there, and promoting other organizations that are promoting life as well. I love that idea of unity, and a growing movement where we're together in saying that we love women, and that we've got love for them, love available when they are facing a crisis, pregnancy particularly. But around that as well, when they're making decisions or when they're supporting people in that circumstance. So anyway, thank you for listening to me. I hope that you're encouraged. I hope that in my story you heard that just ordinary people, yeah, okay, I had a personal experience with this, but we've all had a personal experience of life because we're here. We've all had a personal experience with feeling that a situation's overwhelming and we have no choice, or that we're being forced into a decision because of the nature of the world that we live in, or feeling like we've got to choose our own safety or security at the detriment of others. Those things are familiar. They're common to humankind, and so I think if we can understand this issue from those contexts, and be better informed about how we can do something, I think we can all really make a difference. We can all save lives, and gosh, who could want more than that? So thanks so much for your time, and I hope that despite the changing nature of the world and plans being disrupted, you know the value that you bring to the world, every one of you. Thanks so much. Bye.